Hola, nuevos amigos. Soy señorita García. ¿Cómo están hoy? ¿Están muy bien? Me alegro. In this lesson of Nuevos Amigos, we will be learning about the different types of amphibians that you would find in a rainforest. El bosque tropical. Amphibian in Spanish is anfibio. El anfibio. Say it with me. El anfibio. The verb for the day will be tomar. Say it with me, nuevos amigos. Tomar. Tomar in Spanish can mean two different things. Tomar means to take, as in take a photograph, or tomar can also mean to drink. Today we will use the meaning of tomar, which means to take a photograph of something. We will also learn about the country of Honduras. Let's go to Juanita with a question of the day.
The question of the day is, can you name the 3 groups of amphibians? Buena suerte. Good luck.
Okay, nuevos amigos. Make sure you write down the question and listen for the answer throughout this lesson. Let's take a moment to listen to this poem about the frog. Frog in Spanish is rana. La rana. Repeat after me. La rana. Muy bien. Pay close attention and see if you can recognize any of the words in the poem. Sana, sana, colita de rana. Si no sanas hoy, sanarás mañana. Wow, nuevos amigos, wasn't that a cute poem? ¡Qué poema más precioso! This poem is said by mothers or teachers when children hurt themselves. And this poem is supposed to make them feel better. What words did you recognize? La rana? Yes, la rana is the frog. Did you hear the word colita? We learned it in an earlier lesson in which cola means tail. Colita is little tail. Let's say it together. Colita. How about mañana? Do you remember what mañana means? Right, tomorrow. Say it with me. Mañana. Muy bien. Excelente trabajo, nuevos amigos.
Hola, nuevos amigos. Once again, I'm here to bring you the verb for the day. The verb for today is tomar. To take. Say it with me. Tomar. Let's use tomar in a sentence. Voy a tomar una fotografía de la salamandra. I'm going to take a photograph of the salamander. Let's say it together in Spanish. Voy a tomar una fotografía de la salamandra. Before we move on, let's sing our theme song using our verb for the day, tomar.
Voy a tomar una fotografía de la salamandra y así aprendo más y más y más y más. Ulala, ulala, y así aprendo más. Nuevos amigos, can you tell me what is an amphibian? An amphibian is a partly aquatic animal, such as a frog, toad, salamander, or newt. The word amphibian comes from the Latin word amphi, and bios means double life. Amphibians appeared on Earth around 370 million years ago and were descended from a group of lobe-finned bony fish. Reptiles evolved from amphibians around 315 million years ago and went on to develop into hundreds of different types of animals. There are believed to be about 4,200 species of amphibians and 6,400 species of reptiles living in the world today. Amphibians are vertebrates that spend part of their younger lives underwater, breathing with their gills And then when they become adults, they spend the remainder of their lives on land, breathing with their lungs. Amphibians are cold-blooded. Their body temperature depends on the temperature of their environment. There are 3 groups of living amphibians. Number 1, newts and salamanders. Newt in Spanish is tritón. El tritón. Say it with me. El tritón. Salamander is salamandra. La salamandra. Say it with me. La salamandra. The second group is frogs and toads. Frogs in Spanish is rana. La rana. Repite conmigo. La rana. Toad is sapo. El sapo. Say it with me. El sapo. And the third group of amphibians is caecilians. Caecilians in Spanish is caecilians. Say it with me. Caecilians. Wow, isn't that interesting? Let's take a look at our first fun fact.
Fact. Amphibians rarely drink water. Water passes through their skin in both directions. Anfibios casi nunca toman agua. Agua pasa por medio de su piel en 2 direcciones.
The first group of amphibians is the salamanders and the newts. The salamander is an example from this group. The salamanders evolved during the Jurassic period, about 150 million years ago, during the time of the dinosaurs. Salamanders are amphibians that retain their tail as an adult. They are animals that begin their lives in the water, breathing with gills. As they mature, they develop lungs and breathe air. Salamanders look like lizards without scales. On average, adult salamanders are about 4 to 8 inches long. Most salamanders have 4 short legs, but some species only have front legs. There are 4 toes on each of the front legs and 5 toes on each of the hind legs. The tail is laterally compressed. It is taller than it is wide and often has a crest. In some tree-dwelling salamanders, the tail is able to grasp the tree. As salamanders grow, they lose the outer layer of the old skin and eat it. Skin in Spanish is piel. La piel. Say it with me. La piel. Muy bien. Like all amphibians, salamanders spend their lives near water because they must return to the water to lay their eggs. In the last lesson, we learned that egg in Spanish was huevillo. El huevillo. Say it with me. El huevillo. Muy bien. Salamander eggs are laid in the water. When they hatch, the larvae breathe with gills and swim. As they mature, they develop lungs for breathing air and go onto the land, but remain near the water. Salamanders eat insects, worms, snails, and small fish.
Fact. Amphibian eggs are soft and protected by a jelly. Los huevos de anfibios son suaves y están protegidos por una gelatina.
Let's look at the second group of amphibians, the frogs and toads. Like we said before, animals that spend the first part of their lives underwater and the remainder on land are amphibians. Frogs have long, powerful jumping legs and a very short backbone. Most frogs have teeth, but toads do not have any teeth. Like all amphibians, frogs spend their lives near water because they must return to the water to lay their eggs. Frog eggs are laid in the water. When they hatch into tadpoles, they breathe with gills and swim using a tail. As they grow, they start to change from tadpoles into miniature frogs. Tadpole in Spanish is renacuajo. el renacuajo. Repeat after me. El renacuajo. Excelente. After a few weeks, their tail disappears, 4 legs grow, and lungs develop to replace their gills for breathing air. When they are fully grown, amphibians live on dry land, but will often enter the water, mainly to breed. Amphibians gain and lose water through their skin, so they must keep themselves moist. In harsh climates, frogs bury themselves in sand and mud and hibernate, which means to sleep very deeply. Through the cold winter, frogs eat insects, catching them with their long, sticky tongue. They also eat small fish and worms. Tongue in Spanish is lengua. Say it with me. La lengua. Poison arrow frogs are small, brightly colored rainforest frogs that have extremely poisonous skin. They have glands in the skin that produce strong toxins. Their poison is used by some South American Indians for applying to the tips of their hunting arrows and blowgun darts. The bright coloration of the poison arrow frogs warns predators that they are poisonous. Once a predator has even licked a poison arrow frog, it gets very sick and will never try to eat one again. The poison protects the frogs from most predators. Poison arrow frogs live in tropical rainforests of South and Central America. Poison arrow frogs also eat insects and other small arthropods, catching them with their long, sticky tongues. They eat ants, termites, flies, small beetles, and spiders. Look at this little frog. He's a tree frog, una rana del árbol. Say it with me, una rana del árbol. Look at his mouth, la boca. Boca is mouth. Say it with me, la boca. What comes out of the mouth or la boca? La lengua, the tongue. You're right. Muy bien.
Fact. Salamanders from Central America are brightly colored to let predators know that they are poisonous. Salamandras de Centroamérica son de colores brillantes para advertirles a los depredadores que son venenosas.
The giant toad, sometimes called the cane toad, is one of the largest toads in the world. It can measure over 9 inches in length. It lives in many types of tropical habitats and feeds on a wide variety of food, including insects and mammals such as small rodents, opossums, and small birds. The giant toad protects itself by secreting poisonous chemicals through its skin, which are deadly to many mammal predators. Giant toads can breed at any time of the year. The female lays up to 350,000 eggs in the water each year, many of which are eaten by predators. Now let's look at the third group of amphibians, the caecilians. There are about 160 to 170 species of caecilians, and they all live in tropical climates. These unusual amphibians spend most of their lives underground. Their bodies are ideally suited for burrowing under the soil. They have thick skulls and their eyes and mouths are sunken to avoid taking in too much earth as they burrow for worms and insects. Well, there you have it, Nuevos Amigos. Plenty of information about amphibians.
Wasn't that great information about the amphibians? Let's listen to what our special guest has to say about amphibians in the rainforest.
Hola amigos, my name is Michael and I work at the Dallas Zoo with amphibians. Now the rainforest has many kinds of animals, including jaguars and monkeys, but they also have amphibians. And amphibians are frogs and salamanders like the one I'm holding right here. And salamanders and frogs all have skins that need to stay moist. And that's one thing you can tell about amphibians. They're unlike mammals or reptiles. Reptiles have scales, mammals have fur, but amphibians don't have either of those, and so they must always be by water. And that's why you find so many amphibians in rainforests. Now this salamander is called a tiger salamander, and it eats worms, it eats grubs, it eats snails and little insects. And most amphibians are insect eaters, but there's some that eat fish and some that even eat mammals. They get quite big. And the rainforest, one thing you can see a little bit later are poison dart frogs that we have here in the collection. And poison dart frogs are very interesting because they're very brightly colored. They're very, very poisonous though. And the Indians in South America use the skin of the dart frogs on their arrow tips. And when they go hunting, they shoot their animals and eat the animals that they shoot, but they use the poisons from the dart frogs. Amphibians are just really wonderful creatures. They lay eggs in water. The eggs hatch into little things called tadpoles. They look like little minnows. And the tadpoles, after a couple of weeks, will sprout little legs and eventually crawl right out onto the land. And they'll turn into fully formed adults, but just little miniature variety of adults. Thank you for letting me visit today, and I hope you learned a lot about amphibians.
Muchas gracias. Qué interesante. It's time for our Nuestra Cultura segment. But before we learn about the country of Honduras, let's go ahead and sing our rap song about the Central American countries.
Centroamérica. Panamá, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Honduras, Guatemala, Costa Rica. Centroamérica. Panamá, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Honduras, Guatemala, Costa Rica. Centroamérica.
It's time for the cultural lesson on one of the Central American countries. It's Honduras. I just love learning about the Central American countries. Located in the heart of Central America, the Republic of Honduras, La República de Honduras, covers 43,872 square miles. Along the north, Honduras has a large Caribbean Sea coastline. To the south, a shorter coastline along the Pacific Ocean. Along the east, it shares a border with Nicaragua, and to the west, it borders Guatemala and El Salvador. In addition, Honduras owns the Bay Islands of the Caribbean coast. The name of the country is called La República de Honduras, or the Republic of Honduras. The capital is Tegucigalpa. Say that with me. Tegucigalpa. Excelente. The unit of currency is named Lempira, in honor of Lenco Lempira, an Indian chief of a tribe that resisted Spanish attack. His name symbolizes liberty. The 5 blue stars were placed in the center of the country's flag to represent the 5 original Central American provinces. The official language is Spanish, but English and Creole Spanish are also spoken. The name of a native from Honduras is called a Hondurense. And 98% of the people of Honduras are mestizo, of mixed Spanish and American Indian origin. There is little trace of Indian culture left. Black Carib Indians live along the Caribbean coast. They are known as Morenos, or Garifunas, descendants of Carib Indians and black slaves, brought from Africa to the West Indies and from there to Honduras. Did you know that Honduras is the most mountainous country in Central America? That's right, es cierto. And most of its land is more than 1,000 feet above sea level. Mountains cover more than 2/3 of the land and spread randomly, creating a great number of valleys with expanses of arable land. The north is the fastest and most industrialized part of Honduras. Natural vegetation is abundant and varied. The wildlife is diverse in Honduras. A visitor could find deer, monkeys, wolves, coyotes, and members of the cat family, including puma, ocelot, lynx, and jaguar in remote mountainous areas. The people of Honduras, or the Hondurenses, enjoy a variety of climates. The temperatures are warm all year round, but the patterns of rainfall, humidity, and tropical vegetation vary. Remember, when you take care of your world, you also take care of yourself. Let's save the rainforest.
The question of the day was, can you name the 3 groups of amphibians? Here's the answer. 1. Salamanders and newts. 2. Frogs and toads. 3. Caecilians. Did you guess correctly, Nuevos Amigos? Great job!
Maravilloso! Okay, Nuevos Amigos, it's journal time. Let's take out your Spanish journals and write the words we've learned today. La piel. La piel. La rana. La rana. La rana del árbol. La rana del árbol. El tritón. El tritón. El sapo. El sapo. El huevillo. El huevillo. El renacuajo. El renacuajo. El anfibio. El anfibio. La lengua. La lengua. La boca. La boca. Thank you for writing in your Spanish journal. Gracias, Nuevos Amigos. You've done a great job today. Han hecho un trabajo fantástico. Keep your Spanish journal at your side for each lesson of Nuevos Amigos. Be sure to put these words on your Spanish word wall in your classroom. The verb for the day was tomar, and the sentence using the verb was voy a tomar una fotografía de la salamandra. We also learned la piel, la rana del árbol, el tritón, el sapo, el huevillo, el renacuajo, el anfibio, la boca y la lengua. You've done a wonderful job, Nuevos Amigos. I hope you have learned a lot of information on the many different types of amphibians of the rainforest. Remember, Nuevos Amigos, if you find any new interesting information on amphibians or the rainforest, I'd like to hear from you. Have your teacher email me. Mándame un correo electrónico. The address is nuevosamigos@dallasisd.org. Remember, when you learn to speak another language, you also make new friends. Acuérdense, cuando aprendemos más de un idioma, podemos hacer nuevos amigos. Adiós.